So I got the bar fitted, and I put the throttle cable back in its original position, and seems to fit pretty good. Got decent clearance. I think this will be all right. If there's some rubbing here in the future, I'll put like some hose or something like that over this part so it doesn't rub through. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So next step is to paint, and I sanded this down as well as I could with 220, I think. Yeah, it ain't perfect, and I can't stand painting. That's just not my thing. So I'm not gonna, this is the best I'm gonna do. So here's what we're gonna paint with. So I'm gonna paint it with this epoxy paint, and I know it says no primer required. Yeah, it says does not require primer. It doesn't say not to use it, so I'm gonna use primer anyway. Plus I feel like it would be, well, the primer is gonna fill in some of these scratch marks because this ain't perfect. So that's kind of the main reason I want to throw some primer on there. So I have some of this leftover etching primer and primer sealer, so I'm gonna throw that on and then paint it with this epoxy paint, and hopefully it looks good. So that's the next step. I'm gonna get my paint booth set up in my shed, and then we'll get some quick shots of painting. Okay, so here's what we got after paint. Turned out pretty good. So the only thing that didn't turn out so well is you can see like the lumpiness of where I had to grind this down, because I don't have the patience for painting and body work and filler and all that stuff. So I just kind of used the grinder, did the best to smooth things out. I mean, you can't really tell only when the line is glaring on it, whatever, or when the light is glaring on it. So anyway, I'm gonna go install it, and we'll see how it looks. What do you think? Oh, what happened there? Whoa, that is really close. Ugh. How'd that happen? Huh. Interesting. That's kind of rubbing, but that's not that bad. That's fine. It's got play. What happened here? Yeah, it's like super closer than. That's weird. Let me unbolt it and rebolt it and see what happens. Maybe I just need to move it over a little bit. All right, so I tried to move it over a little bit. It didn't make much difference. So anyway, yeah, there you go. Now I do have to put the fuel line back on the fuel filter, and that just goes here to here, and then here to here. Tidy that up, put it back, and then I'm gonna go take it for a test drive. Not too bad, looks cool. Really wish this wasn't so close. So I'm gonna take it for a test drive, and I'll see if the motor moves, or if it touches that at all. But I mean, I do have poly mounts plus the torque brace right there, so I don't think that engine moves that much, so it should be fine. But I will report back. And this paint, like, it totally chipped. I mean, I expected it to do something when I tighten the nuts, but it kind of chipped off. It didn't, I don't know, just weird. It kind of chipped off. Got clearance there. Oh, I do also have to zip tie these together. Does it look home built? Fun project. Good experience. Now I just have to learn how to weld aluminum, so this will be lighter. So I did weigh this thing, and it weighs 5.9 pounds. Kind of heavy for what it is. Because I'm pretty sure the Powertrix one weighs 1 pound. So this one's almost 6. Yeah, oh well. Looks cool. Fun project. Plus eventually I'm going to swap this motor and this thing will be gone anyway, this strut bar. Who knows? We'll see. Either way, good learning experience. Alright guys, so let's do a final recap and final notes, takeaways of the strut build. Let's see it. Okay, so let's talk about the struggles. Hardest part, so forth. So the hardest part about this whole build, I'd say, was getting this area here to clear the hood. See how here there's like a beam, I guess, a beam that goes here, and I mean there's this foam stuff, but it's not that thick. Like realistically, it's what, like 1/8, something like that. It's not that thick. So I kept having trouble with it touching here. So I had to put a pretty steep angle on this, and I don't know if maybe that's just me. I do have polyurethane mounts installed, Z1 poly mounts, and I don't know if that raised the engine a little bit or any significant amount, because I was having a hard time clearing that. There's this stub right here for the throttle body cable. I was having a hard time clearing that, and also clearing this and the hood there. So that was probably the hardest part, and I kept having to bend this in different ways to get it to clear. And what I did was I put grease, I smeared grease everywhere, and then I would close the hood and I'd see if the grease touched and left a mark on here, and it kept leaving marks. So this part over here was pretty good, but yeah, the hardest parts were down here. And I was looking at some pictures of is it the carbing? I think it's the carbing strut mount. And I noticed in one of the pictures that it had a lot of, it had some like scuff marks and indentations here. Obviously it was from this part here rubbing, this part on the hood rubbing on the bar itself. So looks like that's just generally a problem point for this car and a strut bar. So yeah, I'd say that was the hardest part. The next most difficult part was the welding, because so this is 1/8 inch thick material. This is 3/16. So what I did to get this shape is I did have to, it's basically a C channel, right? So there's 3 sides, 1, 2, 3. It's not, there isn't another side down here at the bottom. So I had to cut slits, and it was a straight bar, right? So I had to cut slits here, and bend it. And then I had to cut a slit up here and a slit here and bend it like this, and then bend it like that. And then same thing here, slit, and bend it this way. And what happened during the welding was this wanted to warp. So, and when it warped, it kind of shrunk in this way and it twisted this way. So, like, let's imagine that end staying flat the same. This end, instead of being flat like this, it was kind of twisted like that. So that was the hardest part. And I did have to, I don't think I filmed this part because it was just such a pain in the ass, but I did have to recut some of these sections up here and here and kind of let it, and then bolt everything up and then weld this in place to kind of mitigate all that twistiness, because that's just what happens when you weld metal. It gets hot, it shrinks, it twists, warps, whatever. So that was really the hardest parts. Everything else was pretty straightforward. A few other tips I'd say. For cutting out these holes, I used a 3-inch hole saw. Looking back, I should have used the next size up, which I think was either 3 1/8 or 3 1/4. Because my initial thought was I'd use the 3-inch and then I would file or grind out. If I needed it larger, I would use a grinder or a bit to enlarge it. I figured it'd be better to be too small and then enlarge it later than being too big from the get-go, right? But after seeing the actual hole size and what it ended up, I would have been better off just using the next size up, which I believe was 3 1/4 on both sides. The next challenge, that was really it. That was really it. Yeah, the hardest part was these bends and having it clear the hood rails here, and then this whole. Well, otherwise, I think it looks pretty cool. I like it. Whether or not it actually does anything, I don't know, because I'm not a professional fabricator. I'm just messing around over here. I mean, it seems pretty stiff. It's got like a little give. I don't know. But yeah, learning experience either way. I'll have to do something about the cover here that goes over the throttle plate. I'll probably trim it out or something like that. Kind of like I've seen some people do that with the Powertrix bar. They just take the cover. Do I have a cover? Where is it? But they take the cover, they cut it into 2 pieces here, and kind of bolt it on. And then this just goes through it. So yeah, and this, okay, so this cost me around $50 plus tax, because I went on Amazon and I got some 3/16 plates, 6x6, 4 of them, and that was, I wanted like $30, $35. No, it was like $30 with tax. And then this 36-inch bar I just got at Home Depot. I think it was $20. So around $50, and then plus you need probably $1,000 worth of tools, like a welder, welding helmet, a drill, hole saw, power cords, extension cords, grinding discs. I already had all that, so I'm not going to factor that in, but you know what I mean. So if you've got the tools, it's a fun project. Plus, it's a good experience learning how to weld. Not that this is my first time welding, but I've done, I don't know, 4 or 5 like actual welding projects that turned out pretty good, in my opinion. So, but yeah, so that's the final result. Hope you like it. Let me know in the comments what I did wrong, how you would have done it. Would you bother with this? I mean, the Powertrix strut bar is like $200 plus tax, shipping, so on, and I spent around $50. And besides, after looking at all the research and forums, apparently the front strut bars don't do much for these cars anyway. So $50 looks cool. I guess I'll take it. Plus, like I said, good learning experience. That's probably the most value that I got, is the learning experience in the welding. Plus, welding's fun. melting metal together. How cool is that? So yeah, hope you like it. Yeah, leave me a comment. Tell me how I did. Shit welds, shit project, waste of time. Let me know if you like it. Like it. If you don't like it, tell me why. All right, but anyways, so that's it. That's the result. Thanks for watching. Remember, only wrenches. Don't forget to wrench your ratchet and lubricate your screwdrivers when you do it, I guess. All right, bye.